How many times are we going to have this conversation? Apparently not enough, because we're doing it again. What is up, Finn fans? What a terrible loss yesterday. What makes yesterday's terrible loss is the fact that other things around the NFL happened that would have benefited the Miami Dolphins. And I'm going to talk about that, as well as obviously the title of the video, which my thumbnail, shout out to my man Jordan, says that when is Stephen Ross going to become an owner or start being an owner? And I don't know what I titled this video yet as I'm sitting here recording this, but someone needs to get fired. And I'm going to jump into all that stuff. We're going to talk about things, pressers, and then Barry Jackson came out with articles, because apparently one of the articles, which really got me more mad, is Dolphins McDaniel says this cannot continue, answers on moving away from Waller. So him not throwing to Waller that much after Waller was absolutely destroying the Carolina Panthers was a choice, not necessarily Tua couldn't get to him. And we're going to figure out why that happened. Also, Barry Jackson came out with an article saying, when will the Dolphins management end? More unforgivable mistakes come to light, which we will talk about as well. And like I said, some pressers, some information here and there, some things that I want to talk about. But real quick, I do want to shout out today's sponsor, Sleeper. You guys know about Sleeper. I use Sleeper constantly. Love their stuff. And as you can see over here, you get a free $20 entry, no deposit needed. Click the link in the description. You also get 100% up to $100 using the promo code DDW. Go check them out. Some of you guys hit me up yesterday during the live stream saying you won some money using Sleeper. I think it was because of the Waller touchdown. So I just want to read you guys something real quick before we really delve into the problems with this team and what needs to happen. So this is something very important. I want you guys to kind of sit back real quick. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. But if you're not driving, kind of just sit back. If you're listening to this on podcast form, which again, if you haven't yet, there is a podcast of this. And just listen to something I found, and I thought this would be very interesting to share with you guys. You guys ready? Okay, listen. I want to thank the players and coaches for their hard work throughout the 2024 season, as well as the fans for their support. As the owner of this team, I ultimately accountable for our success and failures. We fell short of our expectations this year, and I understand and share in the frustration our performance on the field. As we now look forward to 2025, our football operations will continue to be led by Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel with my full support. Their positive work relationship is an asset to the Dolphins, and I believe is the value of stability. However, continuity and leadership is not to be confused with acceptance that status quo is good enough. We will take a hard look at where we have fallen short and make the necessary changes to deliver our ultimate goal of building and sustaining a winning team that competes for championships. However, continuity in leadership is not to be confused with an acceptance that status quo is good enough. However, continuity in leadership is not to be confused with an acceptance that status quo is good enough. One more time for the people in the back, Stephen Ross. What did you say there? However, continuity in leadership is not to be confused with acceptance that status quo is good enough. Hey, Stephen. My man, have you been watching the team play over the past 5 weeks? Have you? Because they're 1-4 and they suck. The defense is horrible. The offense skates along, still making a ton of mistakes, and the offensive line is putrid. You know, there's a lot of things wrong with this team, but continuity. Don't think that the status quo is good enough. Oh. I also want to show you this real quick. Let's see which one works the best. That's too small. That doesn't fit. We'll do this one and then I'll make it bigger. So this image or video, again, to the people listening to on the podcast, go check out the YouTube channel and subscribe. I'm on my road to 100K. This is Mike McDaniel walking to the locker room after the loss. And I just want you to look at his face. It kind of looks like he's about to throw up, if I'm being honest with you. He kind of looks like what the F just happened. Because, you're up 17-0 and you lost badly. So I'm hoping he feels like he's going to throw up. Now, here are some things I found interesting coming from yesterday, right? First and foremost, Mika Fitzpatrick declines to speak with reporters in the Dolphins locker room. Mika said he didn't have anything to say right now. He will speak with us during the week. Then Brandon Ligori, sorry if I butcher your name, the Dolphins were riding high after a win against the lowly Jets at Hard Rock Stadium in week 4. But 6 days later, players are refusing to speak with the media. Mike McDaniel also said it cannot continue to go on like this, and it has already gone on too long. Has it now, Mike? Because it doesn't seem like much has changed. Mike McDaniel said preparation and execution were key reasons why the Dolphins lost today. We thought we were prepared for this. Clearly, we weren't. Stephen Ross. If you hear your head coach say that preparation, and I'm not talking about H because this team is giving me hemorrhoids, and execution were the key reason why the Dolphins lost today, we thought we were prepared. Clearly we weren't. That's not good to hear from your head coach. That's not good at all. Tua comes out and he says, we've got to figure this out, and we've got to figure this out now. This feeling sucks. 100% it sucks. Kyle Krabs brings this up, which I also agreed with. I don't care if it's 4th and long or not. Letting the clock run and punting the ball back to Carolina down 3 in the final 2 minutes is an appalling of a head coach decision as I ever remember. As I'm watching, and again, if you go back and watch the live stream, right, the clock just ticking and ticking and ticking. And I'm like, what are we doing? What are we, like, just go for it. Just horrific, just absolutely horrific. Mike McDaniel, you're not going to get far when you can't establish the line of scrimmage. You don't say. You know when this could have been figured out? 4 years ago. 4 years ago. It boggles my mind. Here's some other stuff. This is from Marcel Louis-Jacques, who says, dunking on cold takes is fun, but in terms of expecting this type of collapse, today is the first time under Mike McDaniel that Miami has blown a 3-score lead. His Dolphins were 10-0 entering this week when leading games by at least 17 points. It's also the third time the Dolphins have lost a game in which they are at least +2 in the turnover differential. 2024 to Seattle, and of course 2023 to Tennessee. His team were 7-2 in such games entering week 5. Every year is different, but this is uncharted territory. Mike McDaniel also comes out and says, starting 1-4, run defense is not good enough. We are much better team than letting a 17-0 lead eviscerate. We will be extremely focused on getting that stuff corrected immediately because we have no time to waste. I don't believe you, because this stuff isn't new. This stuff isn't like, oh, hey, look what just popped up. Cool. This is so-and-so's hurt. We should really figure this out, and blah, 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 and yada, yada. It doesn't make sense at all. And there's something that I want to show you guys, and something that I want to talk about. And that is what happened yesterday, essentially, Sunday, and how things have changed, and how if we would have beat the Carolina Panthers, easily things could have shifted. The Buffalo Bills lost to the New England Patriots last night, so the Miami Dolphins would have been 2-3, 3-2, and 4-1. But that's not the only thing. Ravens lost again. The Houston Texans won, but that doesn't really matter. The Chargers lost. So again, next week we'd be facing the Chargers, 2-3, facing 3-2, with a possibility of becoming 3-3, right? And if you look at the playoff standings, at 2-3, we probably would be number 9. One spot, we're essentially 2 spots out of that last wildcard spot. It's week 5. I understand a lot can change when it comes to seeding, but nope, we are sitting at 13. All the way down at 13. So all these things kind of happened that would have benefited the Dolphins, right? The only thing that really benefited the Dolphins, and if you kind of look at it, is the Dolphins are picking 4. Now, Baltimore's not taking a quarterback. They're sitting at 1-4. Cleveland, could they be taking quarterback? I don't know. And you got the Jets, who are the only winless team, who again lost. Tennessee Titan game was nuts. This is the only plus. If he doesn't fire Mike McDaniel, this is the only plus right here, is that we will probably continue to lose and have a top 5 pick and then have to decide what they're doing. Are they getting the best offensive lineman? Are they going for the best quarterback? Are they going to wait till 2027 to take a quarterback? What's the plan? What's the game? Yada, yada. But as of right now, this is the only thing going for us, is that we have a top 5 pick. But something's got to change, whether it's firing Mike McDaniel or firing Chris Grier. And it's got to be Chris Grier. Now, I know we all know about the legal case with Brian Flores and how, the skeletons in the closet and yada, yada. I said that so many times already today. But something's got to change. Chris Grier, as his tenure as the Miami Dolphins general manager since 2016, yes, he was their general manager in 2016, even though I was one of them that gave him a little bit of a grace because he was part of a 3-headed dragon with Mike Tannenbaum. Since 2016, as the GM of the Miami Dolphins, up until this past offseason, 2025, Chris Grier spent, just on free agency, I'm not talking draft picks or contract extension or anything, just free agency, spent $895 million just on first and second round picks. And I am not equating to tradeaways, like when we traded first and all that stuff for Tyreek and stuff, because it's worse. Has had 21 first and second round picks to draft a player with. $895 million, 21 first and second round picks, and he is now on his 3rd head coach, who's most likely going to get fired soon. There is no way on this earth, this blue marble rocketing towards space, that a competent owner, not even of a football team, say this is your accountant, say this is your manager of your branch of wherever, do you not fire him? And if you're worried about the legality of it because of a Brian Flores situation, that's also your fault. Stephen Ross, that's your fault that you put Brian Flores in a situation that now he is suing other teams, not you yet, and you're afraid to let Chris Grier go because he might get subpoenaed. That's the rumor, right? If it's true or not, whatever. The man spent $895 million, 21 first and second round draft picks, and he's now on his 3rd head coach. There is no way that you could be a billionaire, a successful business owner, a tycoon, a real estate mogul, and allow this ineptitude to continue on your franchise. I just can't wrap my skull around how he still has a job with the Miami Dolphins. Now, Barry Jackson came out and he had a fantastic article. When Dolphins general manager Chris Grier authority was expanded in 2019, he explained that one of his tenets of roster construction is you build your offensive line and defensive line, you start there. Obviously, he was lying to us. Apparently, Chris Grier forgot his own words because the line the Dolphins have built are collectively the worst this decade, something evident in the crushing 27-24 loss to Carolina. The defensive line, featuring one good player in Steeler, 2 mediocre stop gaps in Benito Jones and Matthew Butler, and 2 rookies who are way over their heads, might be the worst in football. Carolina Rico Dualde, or however the crap you say his name, a backup on a bad team, became the latest running back to gash the Dolphins for 206 flipping yards. Miami entered allowing 158 rushing yards per game, and he destroyed that. Now let's be clear. The Dolphins' outside linebacker and several defensive backs have been deficient in the run defense. They're shareable of the blame, but the defensive line isn't nearly good enough. Of 121 qualified defensive tackles, rookie first-round pick Kenneth Grant entered Sunday's game 120th ahead of only Ravens' former fifth-round pick Broderick Washington per Pro Football Focus. Grant has had half a sack, but was blown off the ball multiple run plays on Sunday. So were Phillips and Jones. Opposite Sealer, Miami splits defensive tackle snaps among Grant, Butler, and Jones, and Phillips. All were helpless to swallow Carolina's run game. How could Grier think this group of defensive linemen would be good enough? Why didn't he realize that what Anthony Weaver has suggested twice in recent weeks, that playing Sealer along two young players reduces his effectiveness? The fact that Weaver is telling this man that that's a problem is even more on top of that a problem. The offensive line play was grotesque. Miami allowed 3 sacks and created no holes for a run game that averaged a mere 1.4 yards per carry. As usual, the Dolphins are being derailed by toxic concoction of bad decisions and bad luck. James Daniels, Austin Jackson, expected to compromise a formidable right side of the line, remain out indefinitely with a pectoral and toe injury. Backup Larry Borum and Cole Strange did nothing to help Sunday. The April decision to move up to draft left guard Jonah looks increasingly dubious. Jonah, who permitted 2 sacks on Sunday, has not only been the worst rookie guard in football, but the worst guard period, according to PFF. And which breaks my heart because I wanted him so badly, and they went out and got him, and he's not doing well at all. And that's being kind. It's clear to everyone except apparently the owner, Stephen Ross, that this regime isn't capable of building a sustainable winner. Status quo, baby! Status quo. Grier's mistakes have run the full gambit from draft to free agency to picking a quarterback, Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's too good for the tank in 2019. But this draft day trades in recent years have been perpetually regrettable, a reality that was amplified on Sunday. Nearly 4 months after being named Dolphins general manager in 2016, Grier and executive vice president Tannenbaum brilliantly traded the 42nd, 107th pick to move up 4 spots to draft Pro Bowl cornerback Xavier Howard, who retired last week. Fantastic move. As far as the draft trades have gone, it has all gone downhill from there. The poor draft trades records, except for Xavier Howard and the Jakeem Grant trade hours later, resonated again Sunday when Jonah was beaten easily on a sack that derailed Miami's final possession, and Jalen Wright was a head scratcher. A healthy scratch. Again, why? We traded up for him. Aside from Howard's trade up and swapping the 196 and 227 picks for number 186 to use on Grant, every other draft day trade since Grier was named GM has been either regrettable or produced nothing particularly good. In April, Grier traded up in the second round to take Jonah. Grier instead could have stayed pat and took Tate Ratledge. Instead, he drafted Jonah, who permitted more quarterback pressures than any guard in the league. Earlier, entering Sunday Pro Football, he is bad. I'm just going to paraphrase it because he goes into a lot of things that is very interesting. As for Wright, Miami traded the 2025 third-round pick to Philadelphia to select him in the 4th in 2024. He hasn't done anything. McDaniel said Wright did nothing wrong, but Miami needed more bodies on the defense and special teams. Cool. That didn't help you at all. And but other trades that made during the draft were either inconsequential or, in the case of the 7 below, regrettable. 2021, what is this one? They traded up for Liam Eichenberg, and also in 2021, they traded up for Eric Uzakama. In 2020, after picking Tua at 5, often injured Austin Jackson 18, Miami traded back and took Noah Igbenogany. With Tua's limitation and injury history, it's safe to say that most general managers would pick Love over Tua in a draft redo. Yes, that is 100% correct. Also in 2020, they acquired the 164 pick used on defensive end Curtis Weaver. Weaver never appeared as a Dolphin. In 2019, they traded up for Josh Rosen. Fantastic. Also took Isaiah Prince and Raekwon Davis. In 2019, they also traded pick 62 to acquire Rosen, who was hot garbage. And in 2016, the Dolphins traded third and fourth round pick in 2017 to Minnesota for a chance to draft Leonte Carew at 86. Give Grier credit for trading up for Howard, but since then, most of the players targeted in the draft day trades are outright mistakes. That's just one little iota to put on top of the Sunday of you should be firing Chris Grier. Now let's go into a little bit of a switch on the Darren Waller situation that happened yesterday. Mike McDaniel, Dolphins offense was humming early Sunday. The Dolphins took a 17-0 lead. Darren Waller had caught all 5 passes for 78 yards and a touchdown. A loss. Waller wasn't targeted again for the Dolphins punt on 6 of their final 7 possessions. So what happened? Why did Miami stop throwing to Waller? Anytime you have any productivity in this league, they make adjustments as well. The critical things were where we were in tons of thirds and longs because we got 0 or no production on the run opportunities. You're trying to be as balanced as you can, understanding if they know you're going to pass every play, you won't have production that way. They said we're going to stop your run with our front, and they did. Whatever we were doing, we could have done better. And play I would have picked other than the ones I was calling. You are not going to get far if you can't establish the line of scrimmage. So again, it's another situation where this man, who also should be fired, stopped targeting Waller because he was like, hey, it's a little too on the nose. They're expecting it. If it's working, keep doing it until it stops working. And then when it stops working, stop doing it. It's that plain and simple. They could not cover Darren Waller. I said it in the pregame that I talked to one of the Panther cover beat writers or whatever you want to call them, and he said their linebackers suck, and he's terrified of Darren Waller. Well, knock, knock, who's there? They do, and we stop. Critical mistakes and critical points in the game, whether they're penalties or critical situation, missed assignments. Bottom line is that it's not good enough. We're not much better team than letting a 17-0 lead eviscerate. We'll be focused on yada yada. You know, I already read that crap to you. He's just dumb. He's dumb. And it's another situation where he tries to outthink himself because he's dumb. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. And this is what this all is culminating to. Is Stephen Ross going to become finally an owner and put his big boy pants on and fire some people? Is he going to look at Chris Grier in the face and say, it ain't working, my man. You suck. You're gone. Goodbye. Or is he going to keep him around, let him be in charge of trading away our players to get draft picks? That is just in turn not like it. How do you not fire him? Go out and find a general manager that you want to take over. Give him the job. Have him watch Mike McDaniel for the rest of the year. Let him make a decision, but also let him watch the team so he can make a decision on that as well. Like, Chris Grier needs to be fired. Starts with him. Like I said, fire him, bring in your new GM, have that GM watch this team for the rest of the year, decide who do you want to keep, who do you want to get rid of. This is your team, I would say, if I'm Stephen Ross. This is your team. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you. Who do you want to keep? Who do you want to get rid of? You make those decisions. Your team. Go. You have 10 weeks, 11 weeks. Do what you got to do. But will he? No, probably not. Probably not. Because you should have your GM in place. You should fire Chris Grier, get your GM in place by the trade deadline, which I think is week 10, and then start to trade away players and get what you can for them and build your team your way and find your head coach. Because supposedly the rumbling is John Harbaugh is not safe with the Baltimore Ravens. And I would take John Harbaugh in a heartbeat. So there's a lot of things that are in play. Just like if we would have won, a lot of things were in play. But it's all up to Stephen Ross if he's going to actually finally be an owner and make the right decisions. Now, as of me recording this, which is 12:48 Sunday night, nothing has been announced. And we'll see. Again, I'm putting this out at 7 a.m. So if he does make a move, I will make a video as soon as he does. But again, I'm not going to hold my breath. We have to face the Chargers, then we face the Browns, and we face the Falcons, and then the Ravens, the Bills, and Washington. I don't see them beating any of those teams. Cleveland put up a big fight. Atlanta still fighting hard. You ain't beating the Ravens. Yeah, I get that the Ravens just got their butts whipped by the Texans, but all their players are going to be back by then. You ain't beating Buffalo, and you sure as hell ain't beating Washington, who just beat the Chargers. You're going to go into your bye week with 1 win. You're going to be 1-10. Then the Saints just beat the Giants. I don't see you beating them. You might beat the Jets again. There's your 2 wins. I don't think you're beating the Steelers. You might beat the Bengals. You ain't beating the Bucks. You ain't beating the Patriots. This is a 3-win team in my book right now. This is a 3-win team. They're going to go 3-14. Top 5 pick. What are you going to do with it? Got to make the moves now. This team sucks. The defensive line sucks. The offensive line sucks. The coaching sucks. The GM sucks. If status quo is not good enough, and you don't want us to think that you retaining these guys thinks that status quo is good enough, make the move. Because until you do, we think that you think this is fine and you're okay with this. I don't. And again, if your whole mentality right now is, I want to get a top 5 pick, I want to get a top 3 pick, that's cool. A bunch of Dolphin fans are fine with that. Hey, I want to win, but it is what it is at this point. You can't have Chris Grier still here if you want to do that, because Chris Grier wants to keep his job and will do things to keep his job. And if your thought process is, I'm going to give Chris Grier another year, you're going to lose a lot of money, because these fans are already turning. They've turned way before, and they're going to keep on turning harder. Because from what I see that the players don't want to talk to the media, I guarantee you Mike McDaniel's starting to lose that locker room. We'll see what he does. Again, if a move's made today, I will make a video. If not, I will see you tomorrow. Film breakdown. Do you want to see a film breakdown? We're going to do a film breakdown. I'll make it fun. But on that, like usual, stay classy. If in top.